Yes, the match just ended about a minute ago, and it's Cameroon 3, Serbia 3. Quite an entertaining match, it must be said. The Serbians took the lead early on before Serbia, went on a 3-goal spree before Vincent Abubakar rescued a point for them. Serbia-Cameroon, what do you make of that match, considering, Onana got dropped few hours to the match itself, disciplinary issues?
Yeah, disciplinary issue, but it must be explained that it's not like he slapped the coach or he did something or he did something extraordinary. Basically disagreed with the coach in terms of tactics, how he should play.
Yes.
There's someone who played for Ajax for a couple of years, and for the better part of this year, he's been playing for Inter Milan, since he moved. And I mean, he's used to the modern style of playing where the goalkeeper basically is involved in the playing from the back and being involved in play generally. But the manager, Rigobert Song, is of the opinion that he should basically stick to the traditional rules of being laid back, being at the back, launching the ball, basic rules like that. But the goalkeeper thinks otherwise, and the manager is not ready to risk qualification for a goalkeeper who is not ready to play according to his instructions. So I think for that reason, it's only fair that he changed him for someone who he can trust better.
Looking at that decision, will you say it worked in their favor against? I mean, we know what Onana brings to the table in terms of brilliance, goalkeeping, and all. Is shot stopping, press, was it missed in this match? If he was there, will they have won the match rather than drawn?
Difficult to say, but I think if Cameroon look back, apart from the implication of the result, a 3-3 draw between Cameroon and Serbia is a good result for Cameroon any time. By all metrics, they're a better team than Cameroon. And so, however, given the implication, given that Cameroon already lost their first game to Switzerland. And they needed to get a positive result, not just in terms of draw, a win, because their last game is against Brazil, tournament favorite. So for that reason, you just feel like, hey, you probably should have put your best foot forward. But at what expense? Because you bring in the goalkeeper, he plays the way he wants to play rather than the way the team should play according to the manager. If things go wrong, you have something to point back on. So I do not think any of the goals, was as a result of bad goalkeeping decision. I think overall 3-3 was just about a fair result for Cameroon.
Well, still talking about the World Cup, let's review matches we had yesterday, and the big one had to be Spain against Germany. The Germans had their back to the wall. They needed to respond, and it was Fulkrug who scored that equalizer for them to keep the slim hope alive. But the question is, for how long? They are bottom of that group with a solitary point, while for Spain it's looking quite good now. Remember, Costa Rica and the shock win over Japan as well earlier in the day. Spain against Germany, the question is 2 goals off the bench for Alvaro Morata. The questions concerning possible starting berth for Alvaro Morata in that Spanish team. Finally, I'll get your thoughts there. But the Germans, what exactly is wrong? 2018, they went into 2018 World Cup as defending champions, crashed out at the group stage. The last Euro Championship, round of 16. Now, another World Cup, it's looking like an early exit.
The good news for them is that they just need to get a victory in the last game, and they are home and dry. They're playing against... they already lost to... They're playing against Costa Rica, who are very much a beatable side. Because if they had lost yesterday, it would have been something else.
It also depends on how the scoreline against Costa Rica. Because if Japan is able to get a draw against Spain, that puts them, pits them 4 points apiece. And the head-to-head thing, Japan has defeated Germany.
Yeah, you're right. So they have their destinies in their hands. Win convincingly, and you are basically home and dry. Unless, of course, Spain and Japan play out a draw that can come up with another permutation. But as far as the troubles is concerned, it's really difficult to say.
Another side that is struggling. Well, it's struggling not on the basis of this World Cup, but over the last few years has to be Belgium. They have been touted as the golden generation of Belgian football. You look at the squad from the goalkeeper down to the strikers, you can see talents all over, world-class players. Kevin De Bruyne in the mix, Eden Hazard at some point, for Chelsea while he was at his peak and all of that. But they've been struggling, and the question is why. Yes, they lost to Morocco, yesterday, but it's not even about the loss. The question is, why has this golden generation failed at the big stages when it matters the most? They've just failed to, show up. And you can't even make an excuse. You look at the goalkeeping section, for example. You have Thibaut Courtois, who is the best goalkeeper in the world right now.
Quite obviously.
Simeon Mignolet is there with defense like everywhere, talents everywhere, but they just can't get it done. Is it Roberto Martinez that is the problem, or the players can't just click?
Generally, as a team, everybody takes the blame, right?
Yeah.
If they win, after all, everyone takes a share of the credit. I think generally, I will blame the manager because he won the FA Cup with Wigan in 2013 or thereabout, but it's by no means a winner. And so when you have someone who doesn't have the pedigree, especially at international level. Not like he has a club football, you know, but especially at international level.
He tried with Everton.
Well, yeah, he did quite satisfactorily, but I don't think that was enough to have earned him that job, because you are bringing in a golden generation, as it were, that peaked in 2016 or maybe 2018, if Kevin De Bruyne's word is anything to go by. And so to communicate that mentality, to inculcate that mentality, I know that was going to be difficult. Plus, maybe they were a tad unlucky in a few games, like in the semi-final against France. So you look at the 2014 World Cup, they got kicked out by Argentina. I think that was quite fair because Argentina was one of the best sides. In 2016 at the Euros, who beat them now? Was it Spain? Or I think it was France. Or Germany, I'm not really sure. But they also did not pull their weight. In 2018 was where I thought they really peaked, and they were outdone by France. Last year at the Euros, they didn't do well at all, and I thought they could have done a lot better against Italy, but they didn't pull their weight. So they will have to take a share of the blame. Right now, some of those players are very old. You look at Vertonghen and other Warred, you know, at the back. Their combination is over 100 years. So that was always going to affect them in the midfield as well. Eddie Hazard is in there, the Hazard of old. KDB is still there and thereabout, but this is in the Manchester City system where you can basically close your eyes and you know where Haaland will be. So
Lukaku
I think
struggling with injuries.
Lukaku hasn't been fit for most of this season. So I think they missed their chance in 2018, and they will look back and feel like, hey, between 2016 and 2018, they probably should have done better. Let's
turn our attention now to today's matches. The big one, title favorite Brazil in action against Switzerland. There will be no Neymar. In fact, it has been confirmed that the Brazilian superstar will miss the group stage matches, and Coach Tite is hopeful that he will still take part in this year's World Cup later on in the knockout stages, although the chances are really slim. If you look at how swollen, how inflamed that ankle of his is, it's almost ridiculous to even think he can play football for possibly another 1-2 months as it were. But the World Cup is about 2.5 weeks left. Let's see if miracle does happen in the Brazilian medical camp and Neymar gets to play once again. Brazil, Switzerland, no Neymar. Richarlison will lead the line as usual, Larry. But it's a big loss for Brazil when you look at what Neymar brings to the table. You know, arguably the best, the third best player behind Ronaldo, Messi in the last decade or thereabout. But how does this affect them going forward? I think we will probably agree that today's match is done and relatively dusted.
Well, I think they underrate Switzerland in their own peril, because this is one side that are not so blessed with so many names, but they are very disciplined. They play as a unit. And of course, with that focus, they can be really difficult to beat. But on the basis of quality of players, form, and all that, you still fancy Brazil to at least get a point. We should just be about enough. Without Neymar, obviously something is taken away from them. It doesn't matter whether they won the Copa America without him 3 years ago. With Neymar, they're obviously a better side. It brings everything to the table, okay? But without him, they still have enough, to get out of this group stage, with Vinicius, with Rafinha, with Richarlison, and so many blessed players on the bench. Guimaraes hasn't played. Hasn't played much. Hasn't even featured at this World Cup. There's also Paqueta, there's Casemiro in the middle of the pack. So they have that going for them. You just feel that when they get to the knockout phase, they will need the expertise and the experience and the know-how of Neymar, to bail them out. But so far, it's been very good for them, and I expect that to continue even today.
Let's turn our attention now to another match that will be taken on today, and that's South Korea against Ghana. Now, this is a must-win match for Ghana because they lost their first match to Portugal. Yes, you can always talk about the controversy of the penalty that Ronaldo scored. Should it be given or not? But regardless of the side of divide you are in, what's certain is Ghana lost that, and now they need to win against the South Korean side. Yes, not many names on paper except their captain, Heung-min Son, but this is definitely going to be a huge challenge for the Ghanaians, and they can't afford to even get a draw. If they do get a draw, it leaves them with a must-win match against Uruguay in the final match, and hope that results in the other match goes their way. So it's not looking too good. They have to win. Can they do that against South Korea?
I don't know if they can, but they will have to. And I believe they will have to. They will have to play to do that because this is the World Cup.
Thomas Partey, all in the spotlight.
Yeah, kudos. You know, also there, you know, was one of their best players, you know, against Portugal, running, you know, things from the midfield. Like it or not, they're playing against the weaker side in the group, you know. Apart from that, you know, Portugal being the strongest, and you fancy Uruguay to be there and there about. And so if they don't get the result against Uruguay, I don't think there's any point, you know, playing the last game. Remember, the last time they were at the World Cup as well was in 2014, and they didn't do excellently well. Coincidentally, they were in the same group, you know, with Portugal, and so they also got kicked out of the group stage, you know, just like Portugal in that time. But this time, you know, Portugal already have their noses in front. The first game, you can look at it from so many angles. The first half, they were a bit tepid, very lackluster and all that. But in the second half, they came all out. Unfortunately, that also cost them the game because they lost the ball so many times and they conceded much more than they scored, you know. So this time, they absolutely have to just get the results against South Korea. It doesn't matter whether it's 1-0 or, you know, 2-0 or 2-1. Get the result one way or the other, so that the last game against Uruguay, you probably will be needing just draw. Because for them to have kicked Nigeria out, I don't think they should go there and then kicked out in the group stage. It's like, why did they even go at all? You know, why not just give them the chance? But their second half against Portugal, I'm sure they can take one or two positives, you know, from there and, you know, build on it, correct a couple of mistakes. And why not? South Korea are very much a beatable side.